Hello and welcome to Greetingstar. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a light up card for you today, but before we begin, please don't forget to like and subscribe. This card was made using a Chibitronics kit, which you can see here. It looks more complicated than it is, so don't be intimidated. You can see the card laid out here. I'm using paper from the Fall Market collection from Cardabella. The card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and I'm using the 110-pound cardstock by Neenah. It's the Solar White. The links for all these products are down below in the description if you're interested. Now, before I assemble this card, I am going to use some ink to darken the edges of the strips of the paper, the background paper, and also the focal point of the card. That way they'll stand out against the background. And it's funny too, it'll also help them sort of blend together more harmoniously. You can use any ink that you have. Here I've used Distress ink in the color Aged Mahogany. And I'm just going around all the edges using the sponge dauber. This is a technique that makes a big difference. Those white edges on the card can really attract your eye and sort of take your attention away from the whole effect of the card. So using this technique is something that you might want to give a try in your own card making. I'm going to just go ahead and put on some music so you can enjoy watching me assemble this card, and then I'll chime in here and there when I feel like I need to give you a little bit more direction, especially when I start to lay down the copper tape to build that circuit for those lights. So enjoy. Hello again. I told you I'd chime back in. Okay, it's time to make the circuit. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we're going to lay down some copper tape and also attach the battery. This little piece of copy paper here, and that's all that is, it's just some copy paper. That's where you're going to put your battery. And I've just drawn on the card, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but I've drawn 2 tracks, and that's where I'm going to lay down the copper tape. Now you're going to need 2 tracks, and they need to be laid down fairly close to each other. And the reason is so that you can make sure that the lights come into contact with both of those tracks, so that way your circuit will be complete. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to just go ahead and start where you're going to have your light on your card, and then you're going to bring it down to the battery. So you'll have 1 track right sort of on top, and you do want to make sure as you're laying this down, if you have to do any turns or anything, just fold the tape, do not cut it, because you want to make sure it stays one single track together. So I just fold it up and then down right on top of itself. And just keep going here, and you do want to adhere this little piece of paper to your card, and then you'll adhere the battery to that little piece of that little piece of paper, that little flap there. So as I'm laying this down, it doesn't look really straight or anything, and that's okay, it doesn't matter, nobody's going to see this. And I will use a tool to sort of burnish that down and make sure that it's nice and smooth. And you can cut it when you're done and then start with the second track, which you're going to see here in just a second. And again, the second track needs to be laid fairly close to the first track, close enough so that the light comes into contact, the top of the light comes into contact with the top track, and the bottom of the light comes into contact with the bottom track. And you can just measure that by placing the light there and checking and seeing. Now this second track is going to come alongside the paper flap, and then it's going to come up onto the paper at the bottom there where you see that pencil. And so I'm just going to do that thing again where I bend the tape back up on itself and then back up over so I can change direction. But again, you do not want to cut the tape. It needs to stay one single piece. It's hard to see with my fingers in the way, but after you play with it for a little while, you'll get the hang of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this tape back up on the paper. Sorry, it's out of frame. I wasn't paying close enough attention. This is the first time I've done one of these circuit cards, so so I kind of was paying more attention to that than to where my card was in the frame. But you're going to want to also watch out and be careful. You do not want the battery to come into contact with that second track. And the reason is because the light will continually stay on. So you need to make sure that once you place the battery down, that second track doesn't touch it unless you are pressing with your finger. And the way you do that is you'll flip that piece of paper up and just let it rest on top of the battery. You'll see that here in just a second. And I will eventually push the card up into frame so you can see what I've done. Okay, there we go. So you can see that I've left enough room for the battery to fit there on that first track that's coming down from the top, the one that's straight and doesn't bend. And then this, you can see also that I'm using that little tool there. That's a bone folder, and I'm just using that to sort of burnish that copper tape down so that it's flat and nice and it looks a lot better. So now I'm going to put the battery down, and when I do that, it's going to go up on the top track. And so you see when that paper is pressed down, it will complete the circuit, and then the electricity can flow through and light the light. It's pretty cool, pretty exciting. I think anybody would love to get a card like that lights up, and especially if they know that you made it handmade, that makes it even more special. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do is after you adhere the battery down, you're going to put some foam tape on the back of that Happy Autumn piece of the card, and the foam tape needs to be a little bit taller than the battery, and that is so that that paper there doesn't stay in contact with the battery, and when you press down it will obviously light the light for you, but you don't want it to stay on all the time, or by the time your recipient gets it there may not be any more battery left. So that's another really important part. So here are the little lights, and the lights themselves, I don't know if you can see or not, but they do have copper on them on the top and the bottom, and that's what I was saying earlier. You need to make sure that the tracks are close enough that the top of the light touches the top copper track and the bottom of the light touches the bottom, and those, you'll see those two copper tracks there on that light. And I am going to use my bone folder just to push it down, and it comes with an adhesion on the back already, so you don't need to worry about it. So you can see there that it did light up for a little bit, but it needs to stay in really good contact with that copper tape. So I'm just pressing it down with my bone folder until I know that it's going to light up for me. There we go. Now I've got good contact. So that's what you can do too to make sure that it works well for you. Now I have had this set for a long time. I bought it so excited to use it, and then I never got around to it. So I'm using it rather late. I've had it for quite a while, so the battery might be a little bit weak, but it's still a fun card. So this is going to go on top here, like I said, and if you take a look at the back here, you'll see where I cut that out. I forgot to do that at the very beginning. I should have done that, and I did not. So I ended up having to go back and do some card surgery, if you will, and I had to cut that out so that my light would show through. Otherwise, there was too much paper, and you just couldn't see through it. So I am going to go ahead and lay down. I end up having to lay down 3 layers of this foam tape in order for the card to be high enough so that the battery doesn't stay in constant contact with the copper tape. So you may have to do the same thing. So anyway, this is just one circuit that you can do with this type of card. There's other kinds that you can do to create all kinds of neat effects, and they have directions and give you examples from their, they do have a website. You can also search for videos on YouTube to find out how to do lots of different things. So it's kind of cool, lots of fun, and I hope you give it a try because you know, like I said, don't be intimidated. It's easier than you think it is. It just takes a little bit of planning. So enjoy the rest of the card, and I'll go ahead and put some more music so you can watch and enjoy. Have a great day, and don't forget to like and subscribe.